fucking dumbass, fucking dumbass, fucking dumbass, fucking dumbass. Go.
Hill lawmakers on both sides demanding answers. ABC's chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz leads us off.
It is a shocking lapse in national security. Instead of using highly classified secure channels, Vice President J.D. Vance and members of President Trump's national security team sharing detailed active war plans on a commercial messaging app, texts that inadvertently included journalist Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic. An extraordinary mistake that the White House now acknowledges.
My reaction was, I think I've discovered a massive security breach.
As he reported in The Atlantic days before the U.S. attack on the Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen in mid-March, Goldberg wrote he was surprised to be added to a group chat on the app Signal, apparently by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Also on that chat, the names J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard, and others, calling itself the Houthi PC Small Group. PC, or Principals Committee, generally refers to a group of the most senior national security officials. At 8:16 on Friday, March 14th, Vance, texting the group about the possible strikes on Yemen, I think we are making a mistake, pointing out what's happening off the coast of Yemen affects European trade more than U.S. trade. And in a stunning declaration, Vance, who is normally in lockstep with the president, saying, I am not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now, suggesting delaying the strikes for a month. At 8:27, a response from Pete Hegseth saying that waiting will not change the calculus, but it could make the administration look indecisive. In what The Atlantic says is a screenshot of the Signal chat Goldberg was added to, at 8:45, Vance responding, if you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing out Europe again. Hegseth responding, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. The next day, March 15th, at 11:44, Hegseth posts a team update revealing the strikes would commence in 2 hours. Goldberg did not quote from the text in his article, saying Hegseth shared operational details of the forthcoming strikes, weapons, deploying, and attack sequencing. Goldberg simply waited to see if any of the information shared would actually happen. Then, at 1:55 p.m., the first explosions were reported in Yemen, with many more to follow. According to Goldberg, the administration officials reacting after the strikes, excellent, a good start. Waltz even sending several emojis. Goldberg wrote he was skeptical the group was real at first, but today the National Security Council saying at this time the message thread that was reported appears to be authentic, and we are reviewing how an inadvertent number was added to the chain.
I receive a text in this chain from someone who claims to be Pete Hegseth, who provides what I can only call a war plan.
Tonight, Hegseth blasting the reporter and the report.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
Mr. President, your reaction?
President Trump, hours after the texts were reported, saying he was unaware of the story.
I don't know anything about it.
Whit, military officials at the Pentagon are dumbfounded by the security breach, with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle demanding a full investigation. Whit?
We're seeing that swift reaction.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic? And were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign because of the skill and courage of our troops. I've monitored it very closely from the beginning, And you see, we've been managing 4 years of deferred maintenance under the Trump administration. Our troops, our sailors were getting shot at as targets. Our ships couldn't sail through. And when they did shoot back, it was purely defensively or at shacks in Yemen. President Trump said, no more. We will reestablish deterrence. We will open freedom of navigation, and we will ultimately decimate the Houthis, which is exactly what we're doing as we speak from the beginning, overwhelmingly.
Why were those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The NSC said it was authentic. Secretary?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
with the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Right. Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
So you heard the president's words there, and he certainly looks like he is hearing about this for the first time. However, if that is true, that certainly raises many questions of a different kind. That the story has been out for more than 2 hours at that point when he spoke there, and if he was not briefed on it, that is also very interesting. We know this president is someone who receives news often by watching television on his own, by looking at the social media on his own. He's been a big critic of The Atlantic, but he said he didn't know about it. We will see if that continues. But the bottom line here is the White House is reviewing how Jeffrey Goldberg got added to this chain, and also reviewing whether this type of conversation should have been on this chain in the first place.
Oh, man. You up? Where you at? The U.S. Secretary of Defense texted war plans to a group chat, not knowing who was in it. It included a reporter for the Atlantic, the magazine, not the ocean. LOL, OMG, the same guys obsessed with national security are leaking secret plans to strangers accidentally. Cry laughing emoji.
Top national security officials for President Donald Trump, including his defense secretary, text plan for upcoming military strikes in Yemen to a group chat in a secure messaging app, and included the editor-in-chief, The Atlantic magazine reporter. Monday, the National Security Council said the text chain appears to be authentic. Trump initially told reporters he was not aware that the highly sensitive information had been shared 2.5 hours after it was reported. He later appeared to joke about the breach. The material in the text chain contained operational details of forthcoming strikes on Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, including information about targets, weapons U.S. will be deploying, and attack secrecy editor Chief Goldberg. It was not immediately clear if the specifics of the military operation were classified, but they often are, and kept secure to protect service members and operational security. The U.S. has conducted airstrikes against the Houthis since the militant group began targeting commercial and military vessels in the Red Sea in November 23. Just 2 hours after Goldberg received the details of the attack on March 15th, the U.S. began launching a series of airstrikes against Houthi targets in Yemen. Yeah, they're trying to get rid of DEI, but clearly we need DEI because it's white man is not that competent. I understand leaks happen, but people said a news anchor, even white people weren't down with that. I don't know. But hell, what do I know? I'm just a talking head. Have a great day, YouTube.
The Trump administration may have just engaged in one of the biggest national security blunders of the modern 21st century. This is the list of individuals that was in a signal chat along with a reporter. The signal chat discussed attacks on Yemen. You had everyone from J.D. Vance, the vice president, to Pete Hegseth, to Marco Rubio, to Tulsi Gabbard, Susie Wiles, and more. Now, experts are saying that by including a journalist who does not have a security clearance in this top secret, highly classified chat could be one of the biggest military and national security blunders in modern day history. And there are even now people calling for Pete Hegseth's resignation. A lot of Republicans and a lot of those in the Trump administration right now lambasted Hillary Clinton for her emails. Remember the email saga? Well, experts are saying that this is exponentially worse, because not only did you have a journalist in that chat, but you now have the signal chat public, and people can see deliberations within the Trump administration. I'm going to do a full breakdown of everything you missed on my Substack, so be sure to subscribe for free at the link in my bio. Follow along to stay up to date on all the news you need to know about. More to come soon. Breaking news right now, we have images of the signal chat in which Jeffrey Goldberg, this reporter, was added in accidentally by Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, who sent highly classified confidential war plans to a reporter. Look at this. This is J.D. Vance saying, quote, Pete Hegseth, if you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing out Europe. Again, let's just make sure our messaging is tight here. And if there are things we can do up front to minimize the risk to Saudi oil facilities, we should do it. Hegseth responds saying that he fully shares Vance's loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. He then goes on to talk about how nobody else can do this. The question is timing. He feels now is as good as any time given Trump's directive to reopen shipping lanes. He thinks we should go, but POTUS still retains 24 hours of decision space. Now, you can read the full article from Jeffrey Goldberg on The Atlantic. I would highly encourage.
Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, has been very focused on DEI ever since he took over. I mean, he doesn't like Jackie Robinson. He has a problem with the Tuskegee Airmen, the Native American Windtalkers, and basically trying to erase all pieces of non-white history out of the U.S. military. Well, who would have thought after today that the group chat that got leaked out about them talking about war plans with a journalist, I guess we understand what DEI really means. Dumb, egregious, and ignorant motherfuckers running the national security apparatus of this country.
Thanks, Pete, for giving us another reason why diversity, equity, and inclusion in leadership is so important. Because when you just hire mediocre white men to do the job, at best, they're going to do a mediocre job. And at worst, they'll text highly classified information to a journalist.
A journalist asked Pete about the leaked text message. You really thought he was going to tell you the truth? Like, at this point, I am so convinced we are in the situation we're in because the foolery is on every side of the aisle. This is not the... Watch this.
One question.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic? And were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign because of the skill and courage of our troops. I've monitored it very closely from the beginning. And you see, we've been managing 4 years of deferred maintenance under the Trump administration. Our troops, our sailors were getting shot at as targets. Our ships couldn't sail through. And when they did shoot back, it was purely defensively or at shacks in Yemen. President Trump said, no more. We will reestablish deterrence. We will open freedom of navigation, and we will ultimately decimate the Houthis, which is exactly what we're doing as we speak from the beginning, overwhelmingly.
Why were those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used? And
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
Right,
Thank you.
That's
Appreciate
it.
it.
That's
The
it.
NSC said it was authentic. Secretary?
Come on now, he drinking. The man is drinking. This is the type of stuff that had Congress worried about Pete Hegseth. Even the crazy people in the Republican Party who were not keen on voting for him. The man is clearly drinking, all right? Let's just be real. There's no other reason why he would be adding people to a text thread, a highly sensitive text thread about war plans, if he ain't drinking. Also, the only way a story like this truly gets leaked is if it comes from somewhere very high up in the Oval Office. I've been saying this for months now, and it started when we first got the muskrat on camera talking in front of the American people. There's somebody in there that is trying to disrupt whatever's going on. There's somebody in there that's been on this ride, okay, and they thought it was going to go in one direction, but quickly realized that it is not going in that direction. And whatever they're doing to get this information out, look, it is getting to the right places at the right time. Oh man, this is embarrassing. Name one time the former Secretary of Defense, any of the former Secretary of Defenses, had a text chain with sensitive war plans added to it. Colin Powell, you know that guy whose entire profile has been erased from the military archives. You think he would let this happen under his watch? By the end of this 4 years, the Trump administration and the Republican Party are going to learn the absolute hard way how much this country needs DEI initiatives. Because so far, every major incident that has taken place since they rolled all that stuff back has only made things drastically worse. You got DEI out of the Department of Transit and got rid of it when it came to the air traffic controllers, planes falling out the sky. You're getting DEI out of the federal government, right? You don't want any of those policies in the federal government. 200,000 people get laid off. You get rid of DEI in the military, and the person running the show is damn near sending nuclear codes in the Snapchat. Ladies and gentlemen, this is incredibly dangerous and embarrassing for our country, but at the end of the day, so hilarious. The Trump administration is proving just how mediocre and incompetent conservative white America really is. And by the end of this, nobody is going to want to see them in charge of anything ever again.